Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so pleased to have you. So, where did you join us from? Are you from London, from the UK, from America, from Lagos? Where did you join us from? We'd love to know. Oh, Bumi. Oh, well, this is your first time too. Thank you for joining us. Oh, nice to have you here with us, Bumi. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Can we give Happy and Bumi a welcome, a Hangout Cafe welcome? Oh, Sandra. Sandra is your name. Okay, Sandra. Nice to have you here, Sandra. Bumi is from London. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Emmanuel is on. Emmanuel, can you send me a request now so I can bring you on? Well, I'll look for you if you can. Let's see if I can find Emmanuel Techie. Okay, there you go. There you go. Welcome, welcome. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you for welcoming Sandra and anyone else who's just joined us.
Okay.
Hey, hi.
Hello. Hi, PFA. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, you can. Oh, you can't. Okay. I'll just.
Can you guys hear Emmanuel?
Is this better?
Is it me or is it? Let me know if you can hear both of us. If I can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you can hear him. Okay, maybe that is it.
Yeah.
Okay, it says you can hear you loud and clear. So I can hear you. So can you hear me, Emmanuel?
I can hear you clearly.
You can't hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Um,
I think this will make a difference. Okay, Emmanuel, speak. Let me see if I can hear you. Emmanuel, can you say something?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. Okay. Wonder what
Yeah.
happened.
I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, they said. Okay, can you guys hear me now? Not too clearly. Okay, let me raise. Oops. Let me increase the volume. Okay, is that better? Okay, fantastic. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
so nice to have you here with us. It's a pleasure.
It's nice to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you. Right, it's before we get started, can we welcome Emmanuel properly? Hangout Cafe folks, can you give him a very, very warm hangout welcome? Can you do that on? Yes. Okay. Just welcome
Hi,
him.
everybody.
Hugs, virtual hugs. We give virtual hugs, Emmanuel. Yes.
Okay.
Virtual hugs. And yes, I can see that. Show him lots of love. Because he's probably a bit
Let's see if I
nervous.
can. Let's see if I can do one as well. So I came off Instagram a few months ago, so yeah, bear with me, please, people.
No, it's okay. That's fine. So welcome. You can see they're all welcoming you, giving you loads and loads of
Hi,
hugs.
Bree. Hi, everybody. Hi, hi. Oh, my mom's on here.
Oh, welcome, ma'am.
Yes,
Nice to have you here with us.
yeah.
Nice to have you here with us. Thank you so much. Okay, we have
Hi, hon.
loads,
It's my wife.
loads.
Yeah.
Yes, Bolachi,
Yeah.
welcome too. Thank you. Do you know, talking about,
Hi, Stamaronica. Hi,
I was,
everybody.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about all the guests that have been on Hangout Cafe to tell their story. And I was thinking that it's not just their story, it's also the story of their members of their family, their children, their spouses. And I really also want us to, I want us to appreciate them, and I appreciate Bolaji for, let me use the word, giving her consent for you to be here today. And your mom also, because I know you said you spoke to your mom too. So can we
Yeah,
please
yeah.
appreciate their families? Bolaji, thank you so much. And to your mom, thank you, Ma. We really do appreciate you. And you have raised a wonderful son. Thank you so much, Ma. We really do appreciate it. Yes, because it's not just your story, it's their story too. It's Balaji's story, it's your mom's story, you know, your sibling's
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
So we really do appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Um,
thanks for that. Yeah.
and we, or rather he, Emmanuel Temitope Eyo, has a lot to say today. God is going to help us not to go over and just try and, not to drag it on for too long. But I'll tell you guys a bit about how we got Emmanuel here today. So I was praying to God and just saying, I wasn't even nearly there. I think I was even moving around in my room. And I would just say, oh Lord God, please, who should I have on the 19th of, who do you want on the 19th of December, blah, blah, blah. And I just heard Emmanuel Eyo. Now, it was so specific. He didn't just say Emmanuel, because I know other Emmanuels. He said Emmanuel Eyo. And this was just so random. It wasn't as if I was thinking about Emmanuel. I hadn't spoken to him in months. So I was like, okay. And the next day, because this was in the evening when I heard this, the next day, I sent him a message and I said, Emmanuel, please, when would you be free to have a chat with me? And I think he said now or something, or it was almost immediately.
It was immediate, yeah.
Yes. So we had this chat, and I said to him, I'm a bit hesitant about saying this, but I felt the Lord
My
say
heart
that.
was beating. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah.
I was like, I felt the Lord say that you have a story. Do you have a story? And he laughed. And he said, I think he said something like, we all have stories, if I remember clearly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And then he said, yes, but he needs to go and pray about it, to feel to find out from God if this is the time to tell the story and which story to tell. So anyway, I said, yes, fine, that's no problem. He went back and went off, and then came back a few days later and said, yeah, he'll do it. So I was like, yay, thank you, Lord. So, and he's here with us today. So let's
Thanks
get.
for having me. Yeah.
Oh no, thank you. I keep saying
Yeah.
thank you, because you could.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not that God doesn't want you to share, but the timing might not be right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that this is the right time. So our guest for today, as I've mentioned, is Emmanuel Temitope Eyo.
Yeah.
So Emmanuel, to get us started,
Yes.
can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about yourself, please, for those who don't know you?
Um, yes, thank you, PFA. And if you don't mind, before we start, I would like to acknowledge a few people. I know you've already done that, but this, is really important to me. I want to acknowledge my lovely, beautiful wife, Bolaji.
Oh, Balaji,
You
we
know,
love you.
what can I say? Getting married, being a father, just took me to a whole new level. I strive to be a better man every day, and she checks me. She checks me. Oh, she does that. So thank you to my lovely wife. I want to say to my girls, my three lovely girls, Daddy loves you. My eldest is preteen, and she's teaching me a lot. Let me be politically correct. I'm learning a lot about real fatherhood.
At that
I
age, yes.
Oh gosh, yes. I want to acknowledge my mother. Wow,
Yes.
a very, very strong woman. Um, you know, as you can imagine from the title of today's talk,
Yeah.
she raised my sister and I single-handedly.
Oh, well done,
And
ma'am.
that was not an easy thing.
Mm.
You know, we're all human beings. We have our strengths, we have our weaknesses. You know, if I may say so myself, she did an amazing job. Thank you, Mom. She sacrificed
Wow.
a lot, and I just want to publicly acknowledge you, Mom. God bless you. I
God
appreciate you.
bless you, ma'am. Thank
I
you.
know I speak for my sister and I in saying we appreciate you, we love you. And I'd like to say about my father before I start, just
Okay.
for the record,
Yeah.
I absolutely love and adore this man.
Okay.
I have a fantastic relationship with him now, and anything I say is what happened in the past,
Yeah.
and by the grace of God, there's healing, and we are where we are. So I love you very much, Dad. And fantastic guy, intelligent, beautiful sense of humor. He cracks me up all the time. But anyway, we'll get to that. So yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So about myself, my name is Emmanuel Temitope Eyo. I have many other names as we do in in Nigeria. We give our children so many names. I'm also known as a taker by my family. It's a pet name.
Okay.
My mom, sister, everybody call me a taker. So my close family and friends. I'm well, I guess I'm 39. I turned 39 in about 2 months. I've been married 11 years. Been with my wife 12. We've got 3 children, 3 lovely daughters. It's an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a very, very adventurous 2-year-old. So yeah, that's me. So I
In a
come from
nutshell.
in a nutshell, I come from a relatively small nuclear family or premarital nuclear family.
Okay.
It was just my mother, my sister, and me, and but a much larger extended family. You
Okay.
know, lots and lots of relatives.
Okay. Great. So, just tell us a little bit about your family background. So,
So
growing up, and yeah.
yeah. Okay. So my mother is one of 6 children
Okay.
from her mom. And I think it's safe to say that our grandfathers of those days legally enjoyed the company of more than one woman.
Yes. Yes.
If I could
Yeah.
put it in any
Yeah.
legally enjoyed the
Legally.
company of
Yeah.
more than one woman.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, the families are very large. Um, so my mom has lots of stepbrothers and sisters. I see people laughing. It's true now.
Yeah.
My mom has lots of stepbrothers and sisters, but 6 from my grandmother. And my father also has quite a large family. I think that there originally were sort of 9 of them. Some have gone to be with the Lord, but yeah, there's I think 6 left. And yeah, well, I mean, we're your average sort of middle class family. My grandmother was uh, in education. She was an educator, physicist, and a mathematician. I lived with her for a number of years. I'll get to that. And yeah. So I think one of the reasons for pointing out that we were where my mother hailed from a sort of I would say middle class, upper middle class family is to highlight the fact that this can happen to anybody, or this happens
Yeah.
everywhere. It's not just underprivileged people from underprivileged backgrounds
Yeah.
that go through things like this.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's about it, really.
Okay, so let's talk about the foundational years.
Yeah.
Um, so when did you realize that your dad wasn't there anymore? When did that
Um,
happen?
so I think I must have been about 3, 4 years old. Okay, so I realized when I was about 6, 7
Okay.
that uh, dad is not around, or daddy, as I used to call him,
Okay.
is not around,
Okay.
um, and came to realize that it was from when I was about 3, 4 years old that he left.
Okay.
Um,
But you didn't know
my,
that he
I,
had
I,
left then.
we didn't know. Well, actually, I should speak for myself. Sorry. Do you know what? I didn't acknowledge my sister. Oh,
Okay.
please forgive me, my sister, Mama, my big sister. I love you so much. She is an amazing person. Amazing person. I've learned a lot from her. So, I'm telling my story, but this is our story to an
Okay.
extent.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking from my life, my
Yeah.
perspective, the
Yeah.
things I experienced. But my sister, beautiful person. I love you so much. Bro Rotimi, her husband, fantastic guy. I couldn't have asked for a better person for my sister. I love you guys so much, and my nephews. God bless you all. I love you. My sister's just joined.
Oh,
Mama,
fantastic.
I
Welcome.
was just talking about you, saying how much I love you. I appreciate you.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
We call her Mama. Her name is Yewande.
Okay.
Love you so much. God bless you, my big sister.
Welcome, you
Um,
one day.
but I'll be speaking about me, my
Okay.
life,
Okay.
to protect her privacy and her truths.
Yes.
Um, so I was 3 years old, 3, 4 years old when Daddy was no longer there. I think we were told that he had traveled.
Okay.
So when playing with our friends, Nigeria, we play outside in the compound with our friends, and I'd see a plane flying by, and I would always wave and say "Bye bye, Daddy," because I was told my dad had traveled for work or whatever.
Okay.
Um, and that carried on. I would always do that. And it started to sink in, and then my new normal started to sink in.
So
It
at what
was
age did it
me.
start to sink in?
Well, I think at the point when my mom got us our first place,
Okay.
by herself,
Okay.
solo. um I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And as a child, all new things excite you. It's you just go with the flow, as and you kind of just acclimatize, I guess is
Okay.
the word.
Okay.
So we moved into our new place, and it was just going on with life. She worked as a banker,
Okay.
and my sister and I were in school. So, would go to school, and, and go home, and carry on with life. Fondly remember my mom taking me to school, my first day of school. I didn't like school. I remember being left there and thinking, oh my gosh, why have they left me here? Yeah,
So that was,
it's amazing things you remember. Sorry.
sorry to interrupt. So that was when you realized that daddy wasn't coming back home. When were you
That's
guys?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. I was about 5, 6 years old. We're not seeing much of him, um, or
So
at
even
all in
let
some
me ask this
cases.
question. So
Yeah,
even though you had been told daddy had traveled,
yeah.
between 3, 4, and 5 or 6, 7, when you
Hmm.
now realize that daddy wasn't coming back,
Hmm.
did you see him at all?
Oh gosh. I think once, twice. I remember him coming to our flat then,
Okay.
for a birthday. I can't remember if it was mine or my sister's.
Okay.
But he came. and we would see him once in a blue moon. And actually, sorry, pardon me, I remember him coming to take us for a weekend. Yes, I think I was about 6 years old,
Okay.
5, 6 years old. He spoilt us rotten, took us shopping, and bought us stuff,
Okay.
and we spent the weekend with him. At that time, I think it's safe to say, and I know my dad he's a man, he's accountable. He won't mind me saying this.
Yeah.
At a point in his life, he was lost.
Okay.
And thankfully now he's a devoted Christian, elder in the church, Sunday school teacher, etc. So thank God for that. And so is my mum. It's amazing the way things happen. So he spoilt us rotten, and I can imagine my mum was a bit uncomfortable, but he's her father. She was good in that regard.
Yeah.
She would always take us to his office.
Okay.
We would sit and wait for what seemed like an eternity. We wouldn't see him.
Okay.
We'd leave letters or notes to say we came. We wouldn't see him. It was heartbreaking, but we're taught to be respectful. It was almost an alien thing watching people on TV, in the Western world, expressing their emotions,
To their parents, yes.
yeah, being upset with, I hate you, Dad, and all that stuff. With that, as Nigerians, it's like, whew. So, we were respectful. We were, I think, safe to say, we were good children, my sister and I. I don't think we gave my mom lots of trouble.
It's interesting. I
Yeah.
was just thinking that it's amazing that children, their minds are so innocent. Because even when your
Hmm.
mother said your dad had traveled and you didn't see him, or even
Hmm.
when you saw him, you just didn't think, okay, this man has traveled, but he's not living in this house. At least if you travel, you come
Yeah.
back home. But
Yeah.
that's how innocent
Uh,
children are.
well, to be honest, that was me. I mean, what was I, 4 years old?
Yeah,
You're still very hopeful.
yeah.
My sister, maybe not. I don't know. She was 7.
Okay,
So she probably has, some of her recollections that may differ.
okay.
But from what I remember, I was about 4 years old. I remained hopeful,
That
and
they
to,
will
to
come
this
back.
day. Yeah, actually, and yeah, to this
Okay,
day,
let's talk
yeah.
about school. How did that affect you in school? So when other people had
Um,
daddies coming, or if they did, I'm
hmm,
not sure if in Nigeria a lot of daddies go for all these school functions though. Um,
PTA. Mm. I
yeah,
I got asked the
actually,
question. Yeah, I got asked the question at school, primary school especially. My teachers would ask me, "You're always talking about your mum. What about your dad?" And I would just say, "Oh, he doesn't live with us." They say, "Oh, okay." They would try to pry, but it wouldn't go very far because I was telling the truth. I didn't know much.
yeah.
And my mom was active. She did her best, with my mom was I think what you would call Sisiko.
Okay,
She was a young mom. She was very fashionable, very, very fashionable. She used to have all the long nails and all that stuff. So I was always happy to have my mom come to school.
okay.
You know, she attended as much as she could,
Right.
bearing in mind she had a full-time job.
Yeah. And two
So
children to bring up.
sometimes yeah, my grandmother would attend in her place.
Okay.
Some of the school things. Um, I I
What was
did
it?
well in school. Sorry.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
go on, go on. I was just going to say, well, the question I was going to ask was, so you were the only boy really at home.
I was. I was. I
So what was
was.
that like for you?
it, in retrospect, I see the effect it had on me, not having a lot of exposure to an older man. I had some exposure to some of my cousins,
Okay.
male cousins. So
Yeah.
I played with them.
Okay.
But the bulk of it was spent with my mum, my sister, and our nanny. We had a nanny that stayed about 5, 6 years with us, Auntie Ruth. And you can imagine, I grew up with women, so I don't watch sports now. I never did. It was one of my wife's prayer requests that her husband won't watch football.
So God
And
answered
hey,
that.
God answered. I don't watch football. I didn't play much sports in school. I played some basketball, but not actively involved.
Right.
It didn't allow me have that kind of, I guess, locker room banter that, the guys would have. I couldn't really flow in that regard. I'd be faking it, and they could tell, so if they're talking trash, I just find it really, weird. I found it, odd. I didn't know how to join in on the sort of talking trash as guys do, and yeah, it didn't help me in that regard, with regards to making friends, or being very free and open with boys,
Okay.
and men.
Amen.
But to answer your previous question, I did okay at school. I would always be made class captain. I was very quiet, but I lacked confidence. I would, 9 out of 10 times, I would have the right answer, but I would look into my partners. We had seatmates. My seatmates, I'd look into their work, trying to get the answer. And it just, I started to realize that I needed to trust myself more. So I had confidence issues, and it's carried on to sort of, work. Emmanuel, you're so amazing, but you just need to be more confident, that kind of feedback. Yeah, so.
So let's explore a little bit more about this confident issue. Was it because your dad wasn't around, or you were not informed enough, or what was it? Where did that come
Um,
from?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Um, I think it's a combination of both. And I should say that I know that there are some families that had mom and dad
Yeah.
present
Yeah.
or in the house,
Yeah.
and
And it's
one of
still
them, and dad may have been absent emotionally, or maybe didn't never even looked at them when they were talking to him, head in the newspaper, that sort of stuff. So, but this is just my experience. I I think that not having my father there, or if he were around, maybe I would have, someone to bounce, stuff off of. I was very quiet. I kept a lot inside,
okay.
until I started to self psychoanalyze, I guess you can call it, in my early 20s,
Yeah.
and started to understand my truths and that sort of stuff. So I think, yes, the confidence may have been helped a little bit. Now I know the kind of man my father was. And then again, I think about it sometimes. If he was there,
Yeah.
would that have been, a good thing? Because I think he was lost at that time. As they say, hurt people.
Yeah.
So I think he was going through his own problems, his own hurts, or whatever the case might be. And God does not make mistakes. So, I'm thankful to God for the way everything has panned out. But we know that these things have and can have a negative effect on children.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what about um, your years as a young adult, not having? How was that? Having a role
Okay.
model, a male role
Um,
model.
um, it was I had fun. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
As every young man would, I made a lot of friends. I thank you, 360 guy. Oh, that's one of my friends, AB. Said you turned out all
You
right.
turned out okay.
Um, yeah, I made quite a number of friends. I I was somewhat popular. Um, I was a connector. I always, sort of, yeah, come with me to this party, or let's go here, or I know this person,
Let me ask you a question.
etc.
Were you
Yeah,
searching for something then? Because you were a connector, you were out there. Were you searching for something?
I was. I was searching for acceptance.
Mm.
Um, I was. Sorry, I've seen my friends' comments. It's cracking me up. I was searching for acceptance, something that acceptance with guys.
Okay.
I was always accepted by women. I
Mm.
had no problem in that regard.
Mm.
I never committed. I
Mm.
had a fear of intimacy with women. That's another thing, with girlfriends and that sort of stuff. But
Should we go
I
there now?
always,
Or because I was going to ask a question about that. Okay, but we'll come to
maybe
the
we can come
relationship.
come
We'll
to
come to
that.
that
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah. I was seeking acceptance. You know the fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah.
I was a bit of a jester, and nobody would know that I was more reserved
Mm.
as a person, and loved my quiet moments. My sister, I gave her trouble. Oh, I won't lie to you. Hey, so she'll be looking at, say, you quiet? But I was quiet. And I guess, you're free with the people you're free with.
Yeah.
I was always termed shy, in my younger years, but then I came out and I tried everything, trying to fit in, if I tried smoking, I hated the smell that stays there. It's not for me. And I hardly drink these days. It's yeah, yeah. I wanted that acceptance. I would be the jester. Some
Yeah.
people will see me and be like, "Oh, dude, you crack me up, man. You're so funny." But
Mm.
it was not me. It just
It was
wasn't
just your
me.
way of trying
And
to get. It's your way
yeah,
of looking for acceptance. Yeah.
it was looking for acceptance, but then there's something I do as well where I've heard that saying, "Be all things to all men," and it's something that I found myself doing from quite a young age, sort of mirroring people. It's a communication thing, So I asked myself the question: Was I mirroring people for acceptance, or is it something that God just allowed me to do? Or put in me. You gave, I I think it was acceptance I was looking for. I always cherished friendships, and I think in some cases a bit more than the other party. So over the years, I call my father leaving my first rejection.
Mm.
It was now, someone said to thine own self be true. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
came to realize that when I was much older.
Yeah.
It was, a few, when I was in my 20s that I just thought, you know what? I can't
Can't
be
do
doing all
this
this anymore.
anymore. Yeah.
I faced quite a lot of rejection, especially, uh, becoming a Christian, because I was that guy that when I was getting married,
Yeah.
having my first child, they said, "Eh, you."
Mm.
So it was I guess Christ says you carry the cross with me, and I guess that was one of the things that happened to me. I went from having contact with so many people to my phone barely ringing. So that was then another rejection I felt.
Mm.
It was quite heartbreaking. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's now explore your how this whole thing affected your relationship with women.
Hmm. Okay, thankfully I've been married 11 years, to the glory of God. Um, Bolaji and I, my wife, have gone through a lot,
Yeah,
but we support each other.
yeah,
So as we do on a daily basis, we learn from each other, we
yeah.
learn each other,
Right.
and we just try to improve.
Mm.
Um, Having girlfriends was something I kind of shied away from. I think the longest relationship I had, up until the age of 26, 25, 26, when I met my wife, was about 10 months to a year. And even at that, I don't think I wanted to stay any longer.
What was the problem?
Um, well, I mean, there were some issues, but then I just found that I had this expectation that they would at some point leave me.
Wow.
I always thought
But these were
that
women, not men.
they were
But yet you
women.
had the same.
I still had those expectations, and in some cases I find myself overcompensating, putting myself on the back burner. Some people say that that's love, and that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, I ask God all the time, teach me the difference between foolishness and meekness.
Mm.
I don't want to think I'm being meek and loving and I'm being a fool.
Yeah.
So I overcompensated in some relationships. Um,
So again,
so
that
I,
thing it followed you,
yeah,
that fear of rejection. You
fear
still
of
had that.
rejection, fear of rejection. I tell you what,
Yeah.
in the clubs, my friends would say, "How do you stand in one place and then it's like all the girls just come to you?" And I acted as if it was a strategy I had. I had no clue what I was doing. My boy is on here; he'll testify to that. I would see guys in the club.
Yeah.
They would go to ladies and they would whisper something into the lady's ear, and she would look like she's floating on air. And I'm like, what are these guys saying? Because I had no clue. I guess some people would say I had no game. I don't I had no clue. I was just a quiet guy. I got some attention from women, but I had no clue. Um,
But I guess
so
the girls
yeah.
that your friends that they'll come to you. They probably saw you and thought this guy is cool, just standing in one corner. That's maybe that
I,
was the
I think there was an
attraction.
aspect of that. I think there was an aspect of that, learning that if you don't look hungry, then maybe you'll attract something. But
If you don't look hungry,
yeah,
maybe you
if you don't
attract
look,
something.
maybe I think that works in Lagos, because everybody has to, look like you're, the top dog, to attract investments or whatever. But it was yeah, I didn't know how they did all those things. But I think I've lost my trail of thought now.
Okay, no,
But yeah.
we're talking about your relationship with. Let's go now to the relationship with men. How did it affect your relationship with men?
Um, Sorry, how did dating affect my
No,
relationship
no.
with
How
men?
did this whole thing affect your
Oh,
relationship
right.
with men?
Okay. I found it very difficult to trust men, especially. I still find it very, very difficult to relate with older men.
Okay.
I'm still somewhat formal with my father-in-law. Sending big love to my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law. They're amazing people, amazing people. It didn't start out, I told you all that story.
Yeah.
It didn't start out the way, everybody would like things like that to start out. As a reason for that. But
Yeah.
now I can boast of having, two fantastic dads when I didn't have any when I was a little boy,
That's
and and two amazing mums. But to answer your question, I'm still somewhat formal with my father-in-law. I'm a lot more comfortable with my father now. We joke a lot. We talk about 3-4 times a week, video chats. He's in Nigeria. And with older men, so I'll use Doc as an example. I don't call him Doc. It's Pastor Sholadiaga. It's your husband. Amazing man. God bless him, and he's been good to me. So I thank him for that. I'm still very formal with Doc. I find it difficult to just relax in the midst of in front of an older man. It's just something I find difficult to do. I find it difficult opening up to new guys. Most of the guys I have in my life, the friends, are guys I went to school with. There are a few guys that I've met and I felt that, I can trust this guy. So I've opened up to him, but only to a certain extent. So I'm incredibly cautious when dealing with men. Some may say, "Oh, that's wisdom," Yes, I can see the wisdom in that, but at the same time, I think there's also quite a lot of loss, because when you find it difficult to trust, many things in business, you have to trust. They say trust and be trusted. So it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. It did affect me in that regard. Yeah.
Talking about trust, when you eventually gave your life to God, and did this also affect your relationship with God?
Yes. So my wife reintroduced me to the church. Okay. Let me just lay the foundation. Yeah. I was in a youth fellowship ministry between 14 and 17 in Lagos. And those were some of the best years of my life. I fondly remember them. I made lots of new friends. It was something new for me. And then I came to the UK to join my mum when I was 17. And sort of leaving all of that behind, to a new beginning. I had, I guess, what you would call some sort of a void, and filled it with, trying to make friends, etc. And something I'm not ashamed to say on here. I made a pact with God that I would save my virginity until marriage. And I think I did this when I was 16, 17. Okay. I broke that pact. And I did not forgive myself for a very long time. But that's another thing entirely. I learned over the years to forgive myself. I found God through my wife. Again, my mom would beg me. My mom became a Christian. She would beg me to come to church, come to this program, go and get baptized. I'd been baptized in the Anglican church at 5 years old, and I did my confirmation, as they do, when I was 15, I think, 15, 16. So in that regard, it's like you've done everything. So, with that mindset, I'm looking at my mom thinking, baptism. She's talking about baptism by immersion. What do I need to baptize for? As in you that you used to rock in Lagos. Now you're a Christian and you want me to to start, So I think she won't mind me saying this, but I rejected, all of her requests to come with her to church and all that sort of stuff. And then I met my amazing wife. She sort of said, yeah. She's laughing. She said, "Oh, come to church." I said, that thing that they always do when they say, if you're new here, put your hands up. And then I have a pastor blowing up my phone like 3-4 times a week. And then, no thanks. I avoided pastors like the plague. Because of the way I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't a bad boy. I wasn't a bad boy. I've told Doc this several times, but I was very naughty.
You were not.
So I think,
You
I
were
don't know who
naughty, but you were
understands
not a
that.
bad boy. Okay.
I wasn't a bad boy. I didn't give my mom sleepless nights. At least I don't think so.
Okay.
Bolaji took me to church, and she promised me. I said, I don't want phone calls. And she said, I'm the one that enters the names into our database.
Okay.
I won't put your details in there. I said, thank you. I went to church. I found acceptance. They were young people just like me. I love music. I love singing. I'd sung in my youth fellowship ministry in Muson Center. And then I joined the choir in this church. They pulled me in as soon as they found out I sing. And I made new friends, and the rest, as they say, is history. I gave my life to Christ, and haven't looked back since.
Thank God.
Oh, my mom says you didn't. Huh? Okay. I gave my life to Christ. I think she means no, I didn't come with her to any of her events. Yeah, here we are. We've been at Jesus House now for 9 years.
But you didn't give your life in Jesus' house.
Yeah.
It was another church.
No, it was a church called Global Harvest Church with shout out to Pastor Ayo, Lauren Lobon. Amazing guy. That's where I gave my life to Christ, rededicated myself to Christ. Okay. And I've done so, on and on as we do. You continue to rededicate yourself, know. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about how did you get to forgive your father? What was that process like?
Oh, wow.
How did you get to that place?
It wasn't easy. As I started to come into my own as a young adult, it wasn't easy. I started to be more true to myself. I started to understand myself.
More true to yourself.
So I started to understand my truths. I didn't want to just please people anymore. And needless to say, I lost a lot of friends. They're like, you're very different now. Yeah, tough. If you don't like it, bounce. I became a bit harder, from being, Mr. Good Time guy, Mr. Nice guy, etc. I was now true to myself. If I meant yes, I meant yes. If I meant no, I meant no. If you don't like it, tough. I think I got a bit hard. I'll be honest. I'll put my hands up. I think I started to understand that I was a bit upset, or very upset. I wouldn't say angry because that's a strong word, but I was upset. I stayed away from my dad for, I think, well over 2 years. He, at this point, he was a Christian, and I think he was trying to repair our relationship. I avoided him. I was very upset. I would cry a lot. In private, of course. I had a flatmate. I explored a lot with him. He was a great guy. And we lived close to Kingston Town Centre. And we used to go out a lot. And at this point, I became myself. I'm a homebody. I would always stay indoors. He would knock on my door. Oh, come on, we're going out. Come on, man. Come on, man. And I'm like, sorry, I'm not interested. This is between sort of 24, 20 to when I was about 25, 26. And decided at that point that I was going to cut all contact with my father, which I broke at the time my sister was getting married. there's some other stories, but he was upsetting my mom and my sister at this point, and um, I had to, um, I had to break my silence. I don't think I told my sister this. I broke my silence and I contacted him in a very sternly worded email. I threatened him that he would never see me again in his life if he causes any more upset. I know what he was fighting for now,
Right.
and I understand it as a man, but I just needed him to back off.
Okay.
And it was a very sternly worded email that I sent him, um, trembling, of course, and he responded, to my surprise, obliging, my requests and sort of saying to me, I can tell my son is now a grown man. I respect that. I thank God for your life. Some may say he was patronizing me, but he did not make any contact. I told him, stay away. I will let you know when you can make contact. You go through me. I am the gatekeeper now. I am the man in their lives, so you come through me. And there a lot happened. So over the years, God kind of, spoke to my heart and told me, I think Yorubas would say farabale, like that sort
Calm
of stuff,
down. Yeah.
calm down. Sorry for those who are not Yoruba. You know, I started to warm up to him a little bit more. I would talk to him. And this is about 13 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. I would talk to him from time to time. And this is pre-WhatsApp and a lot of the technologies that we use now.
Yeah.
And it was a painful process. I asked him some very difficult questions and demanded that he doesn't patronize me, lie to me. And I think the general threat is whatever it means to you, I will walk. So don't feed me rubbish. So I had some really hard conversations with him. Of course, I asked him if I had other siblings,
Yeah.
to which he said no. I asked him multiple times. Like I'm a guy who, I understand the way these things go. You can talk to me. I'm an adult, and he said no. He's just not that kind of guy. So I eventually, through finding Christ, and this was about 26 when I was 26. So between 26 and 28, I found myself being more forgiving towards him. We would talk more. We would talk a lot more frankly.
Okay.
He was now a Christian,
Okay.
a very devoted Christian, and I started to open up to him. It was a difficult thing because this guy's pretty much a stranger to me.
I remember
I
you.
would,
Sorry,
yeah.
I remember you told me about an incident where he was trying to button up your top. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay, I think I must have been about 16. I I went to see him, and this was in Lagos. At the time, I was in KC. Shout out to the KCOBs on here. I see you,
Shout out.
Floriat
Well, my
guys.
husband is ex-Casey, so shout out.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Daddy Doc. Yeah. So Floriat. I went to see him, and I was wearing a polo shirt. With the buttons.
Yeah.
Typically have 2 or 3 buttons at the top. And in those days, Lagos is hot. I'd leave my buttons open. I went to see him, and he was, yeah. I went to see him, and he was trying to do up my buttons. And I was looking at him like, what are you doing? At this point, I think he's still in his eyes, I can imagine, because I still look at my 11-year-old and I see, the
It's the
girl I used to
favorite.
put
Yeah.
on my neck,
Yeah.
and she's what, close to my shoulder now. I'm 6'2", so she's quite tall. Um, I was looking at him and thinking, what's this guy trying to do? Like, like almost like, who are you?
Yeah.
And he was there buttoning up, you need to look smart. And I'm thinking, those days are long gone, my guy, as in and that's exactly, I was thinking it. So imagine if there was a thought bubble in a comic book. Oh, yeah, but of course, out of respect, I didn't say that. Um, so that's an example of how much of a barrier I'd, sort of unknowingly placed between me and him, or dare I say, he placed by not being there. I didn't. I would go and see him sometimes, but it was just ticking a box at that point. you know. Okay, yeah, AB, I thought it was cool to leave it open. Fine. It wasn't just the heat. But yeah, I don't know where were we?
So you eventually asked them some questions about what happened, and he told you his truth. Yes.
Yeah, he started to open up about a number of things. He tried to tell me about things between he and my mom, and I shut him down, sort of saying, "Look, it's not my business. The way you dealt with your lady is between you and her. My question for you is, why did you leave my sister and I? Why were you not there? Answer those questions." So I gave him an opportunity to listen to him. I think that's really important. Giving someone who has hurt you really badly, and when I say damage has been done, I mean damage has been done. And I think that applies to so many people in different ways. It could have been an abusive father or whatever, or mum or whatever it was. I personally think, and I've learned in retrospect, and from the healing I've experienced, it is important to hear why people have done stuff. Everybody has a story and a reason for doing the things that they do. I understand a few things now. I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
I understand the issues of pride. Pride plays heavily in a lot of the decisions that are made in this regard. I've experienced it. If there's time, I'll touch on that. So yeah, he offered me some explanations. It took me some time to understand them, because there's still that thing that I wasn't a bad child. I was actually, quite the opposite. That why did you reject me? There was always that question in my mind, and
So
then
did you
with
blame
every other
yourself?
rejection, sorry.
Did you blame yourself? You thought it was because of you? Something you did?
I Well, from some psychoanalysis, I came to realize that my search for perfection, my search, or my all constantly trying to be perceived as, the guy that is always put together. My uniform was always white compared to my classmates. I didn't want any teacher to see me doing anything wrong, so cleaning my tracks or whatever, so I was always trying to be that guy, and not really being myself. So yes, I think it did have an effect. I Yeah, sorry, I've lost my trail of thought.
What was the question? I can't remember what I
Yeah,
said
yeah, I know.
again.
Yeah, it's oh
Okay, I
yeah, trying to
said,
be perfect. Yeah,
yeah. And
you,
I said you blamed yourself for your
I
father's.
did
Okay.
to an extent. I didn't, not outrightly, but now I realize that I always felt a level of imperfection, and the enemy knows the things. The enemy knows your deficiencies, and attacks you in that regard,
Yeah.
you continue, you're seeking acceptance. You know what? You're going to be rejected more. You know, you're trying to uh, be, I don't know, perfect is not the word, but do you know what? You're gonna get the complete opposite of positive affirmations, from a lot of other people. And God bless my family. They're amazing people. That sort of stuff. I so the things that you find yourself searching for, and one of my love languages is words of affirmation. Funny enough, so when you think about it, where did that come from? That need for affirmation. Come to realize that a lot of the experiences we go through shape the person you become.
Oh yes.
And not acknowledging that you're hurting means that you stay in that place.
Yes.
That's the first point that I now realize. I acknowledged that I was hurting, and then actively started trying to deal with it. So yeah, I don't even know. I'm just talking now.
Okay. How has this now let's talk about the lessons you've learned and how, first of all, it affected your marriage, and the way you're raising your children now.
So I'm a very involved dad.
Okay.
I'm very, very active in my children's lives. I God bless my wife, with for her patience. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading something my mom wrote. She said, "Oh yeah, she told me this 2 days ago, that my grandma said to her that she was very hard on my sister and I." Thanks, hon. And she,
Because of the
she
stigma
sort of
placed on single parenthood.
on single parenthood, yeah. So she wanted to make sure my sister and I turn out well. I understand that now. I deal with especially my eldest, and I'm learning to, sort of step back a little bit, learn her, understand her, etc. So my grandma, I'd advise, God rest her soul, a beautiful person, advised my mom to not be so hard on us. And later on, I went to live with my grandma for about 4 or 5 years. I was in boarding school initially, and then I was in a day school. So from when I was about just before I turned 13 to when I was 17, and came and joined my mom in the UK. My sister and I lived with our grandma, and she apparently, I had no clue. My mom told me this 2 days ago. She said to my mom that she can see the benefits of the way my mom raised us, that apparently we're great children, and etc., etc. So
well done,
she
Mama.
yeah, God bless you, mom. Like I say, we're all human beings. She did the best she could. She was a single mother. There's only so many shoes she could fill. There are some aspects of being a man that she couldn't teach me, and I've had to learn them myself. I've been a bit hard, and it's been somewhat alien to my mom. I just want to say, mom, I've told you, when I win, you win, 100%.
Yay.
So I'm finding a lot of things out for myself, thanks to my wife and my children. But yeah, so fatherhood, I understand we're sort of 13 minutes past the hour. Okay, start with my wife. She is an amazing person. She checks me a lot. We've had our ups and downs, and I think anybody who's been married for a number of years, or even for a year, two, whatever,
Yeah.
you go through some real difficulties, and there have been moments. I hope, Balaji, I hope you don't mind me saying this, where I wanted to leave. You kind of have those moments where you're just like, I've had enough, as in,
I did
and I
yours too,
think we're all
yes.
human beings.
Yeah, I did
I
yours
know,
too,
I know,
yes.
I heard,
You heard
I know
George is
you,
always telling
you.
you guys things about us. He just
But I tell you what, your story, yours and his story, it's encouraging, So you've been married, what, 27 years? Or,
29 now.
29 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something to learn from. God bless that. God bless you guys for setting an example. One of the things that kept me going, or kept me, the moment I had said to my wife that um, I'm gonna start looking for a place. God slapped me spiritually. I think, if you can imagine the kind of, I went and I begged my wife and I apologized. I sort of said, look, I never want to lose my family. It's my crowning glory. And it's anybody's crowning glory. It's any man, speak for men. It's a beautiful thing. I love my wife and my children. I love us as a unit, and I apologize to my wife. I will never say that again. I promised every one of my children when they were born,
Yeah.
before they could understand anything I was saying. I have private moments with them, and I promised them I would never leave them. Yes, okay, it's off the back of, my dad never being there, and I find myself somewhat overcompensating. I'll put my hands up. I do overcompensate sometimes,
In what way?
and my
In what way?
I I I think I'm a bit of an educator in some sense. I some people say, oh, you give so very good advice. A lot of people come to me asking for advice and help with stuff, but they style it out. They don't want to let me know they're asking my help. I used to offer I used to offer up unsolicited advice, and I learned the hard way not to do that. I I think training is the word. I'm training my girls. I actively and intentionally
Okay.
train my girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is saying every moment is
It's
a
a
teachable
teachable.
moment. I know. I'm sorry. I think I need to empty myself. Otherwise, God won't forgive me. Oh, um, you know, anything can happen at any time. We pray for long life. We pray for prosperity, all these things, but we
Yeah.
don't know what's going to come tomorrow.
Okay.
So I tell my kids, if there's anything you forget, don't forget this.
Mm.
Always remember this. I see so many things and I'm like, oh my gosh, God give me long life.
Mm.
You know, I just see the need for a lot of young people to be who says he's a counselor. Well, I'm not a trained counselor, but yeah, it's something I do.
Okay.
Um, I see the need for so many young people that need their hands to be held.
Mm.
They need a lot of support.
Yeah.
They
That's
may
so
not
true.
show it, they may run away, but they need it.
Yeah.
They don't want it, they need it.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
and before I go any further, I know we're sort of, losing time. I see people dropping off. If there is anybody that is fighting with any of these kinds of decisions or is currently going through it, I beg you, whatever the case is, please stay in your children's lives.
Mm.
I don't want to be prescriptive, and I know I'm speaking from my experience,
Yeah.
but the children need us. You know,
Yeah.
they need us in ways that we can't even understand. And I know sometimes the father of your child or the mother of your child is difficult, or in some cases maybe they use the children as a weapon
Which we
to try
shouldn't.
and hurt the other one.
Yeah, we shouldn't do
You
that.
know, sort of keeping the child away from the mum or from the dad. You know, and I say from the dad keeping the child away from the mum first, so I'm not just stereotyping
Yeah. It
that
could be either.
it's you know, it could be either way. You know, I beg you, please don't do that. You know, revenge
It's
is, it may look and seem sweet, but it is I think the Bible describes things like that as foolishness. I'm not insulting anybody, it's the truth. You
and I
know,
think
unforgiveness.
we're not saying that because there are cases where maybe it's an abusive marriage, whether
Absolutely,
husband or
absolutely.
wife is being violent. So there are cases where you have to separate, but it doesn't
Yes,
mean that you don't you're not in touch with the children, because it's so important that the children
trying to
know that.
maintain. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, please carry on. Please,
No,
please,
no, it's
pardon me.
exactly what you were saying.
Yeah,
Just like, yeah,
yeah.
don't use the
Um,
children to destroy each other.
Absolutely.
Separate.
You know, if there's anything that can drive anybody, if you permit me to say this,
Yeah.
let fear drive you, because and I say this very clearly. If anybody wants to attack me, I'll put my contact details on there. You know, let's talk. God has given us children for a reason. We are their keepers. We're the ones that are meant to guide them.
Yep.
We're the ones that are meant to raise them. So he has
Yes.
entrusted this
Yes.
in our hands.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to use a child as a weapon or wants to abuse a child or whatever the case might be, God is watching.
Yes.
And yes, we're the custodians of these children.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
God is watching, and um,
Yeah.
we don't want to experience that punishment.
Yeah.
That punishment is severe.
Yeah.
It is painful. Yeah, I'm sorry. You
No,
know,
no, no. Go
just
on. Go on.
let fear drive you. You
Yes.
know, if nothing else does, let fear drive you, because it's clearly stated in the Bible. Some people believe in the Bible, some don't. But
Listen to
let's
Matthew
yes,
18:16. If anyone
yes,
causes any one of these little ones, those who believe
yes.
in me, to stumble,
Hmm.
because a lot of these things that we do could make the child.
Hmm.
It will be better
Yes.
for them to have a large round stone hung around their
Whew.
neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. Yeah. So we really have to be
Yeah.
careful.
I pray for wisdom, understanding, knowledge to continue to be the right parent for my
Amen.
children,
Amen.
for me
Amen.
and my wife, and for all of us.
Amen.
It's not an easy thing.
No.
You know, I've started to experience, chat back and all that stuff from my daughter. And, God bless my wife. She, because I'm looking at it as I wasn't that kind of child. How dare she speak back to me? But then I'm understanding that we're raising them in different circumstances. So trying to listen to her, trying to understand where she is coming from and that sort of stuff. So we're learning every day, but they keep me on my toes. So does my wife. She encourages me, unknowingly, to be the best man that I can be. She's, yeah, thank you, hon. Thank you.
Well done,
I,
Balaji. Well done, well
uh,
done, well done. Okay, we talked about this, I think it was yesterday. We're talking about forgiveness,
oh
because
yeah.
I think it's so important. And I
Hmm.
said to you, I read this book by Desmond Tutu. It's
Yes.
actually called No Future Without Forgiveness. But I think
Hmm.
one of the things he said in the book is that there's no forgiveness without reconciliation. I remember we talked about it, and the question I asked was, does every forgiveness have, do you have to reconcile every time you
Hmm.
forgive someone? And I
Yes.
think you said, what was it you said? No, not necessarily.
Yes.
Okay.
Ah, absolutely. You do. And I'll tell you
Oh,
why.
did you? Oh, are you
In
saying yes, you have to, or no?
Yes, you have to.
Okay,
Yes, you
explain
have
that.
to. I strongly believe that a lot of people were Nigerian, so I'll say the way I've heard it. People say, "Ah, I've forgiven you. Oh. I've forgiven you," and that sort of stuff. But when push comes to shove, it's a tit for tat sort of situation. The truth of the matter is, if you've forgiven someone, you will. You will in some way reconcile. And reconciliation is not necessarily saying that you will have this person in your day to day, in your life, actively in your life.
You're not.
It's
You don't
it's
have to be
saying
best friends with them again.
you don't have to be. But if I
Sorry, we
think we've
lost you. What did you say? Say that again.
okay. If you've really forgiven them and reconciled with it,
Okay.
with them, you will pray for them. You will help them if they need you. You will you will move on. You'll remove that heavy weight because that is what unforgiveness is. In my opinion. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. The relief that I've felt since forgiving my father. And there are other instances as well. We all get hurt by people every day.
Yeah.
And, it's not an easy thing. Nobody, anybody that says forgiveness is easy is
It's
a
not.
liar.
No, it's not.
I hope I'm not sounding very preachy. I'm a sinner. So just to put it
We
out
all
there.
are.
So
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
sinner.
Yes.
So I think some of my guys on here will agree with that. But what I'm trying to say is reconciliation means that you've really and truly let it go. Um, it's um, it's a way of not just saying to that person that I forgive you, but it's it's showing it in some way.
Yeah.
You may not need to actively go and search for a way of showing that reconciliation, but it will come to you. I believe that God tests us. You say you've done something, He tests you.
Yeah.
There was someone that caused an awful amount of hurt to me,
Yeah.
and God rest their soul. They've gone to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful that I had an opportunity to forgive, and my last words to them after praying with them were that was telling them that I love them, and they said it back to me. So I pray that we don't ever lose the opportunity to really forgive because tomorrow isn't promised.
It's not. It's not. It's not.
It's absolutely important. There's a popular prayer, the Lord's Prayer. There's a line that says, "Forgive us our sins," or some people know it as trespasses,
Yeah.
as we forgive those who
Words
sin or trespass
against.
against
Yeah.
us. I mean, it's very clear English. If you don't forgive, then the salvation that we get in Christ is null and void. You have
You
to
have to. You
forgive
have to.
for you to be able to use the name of Jesus
Yep.
to ask God for
Yeah.
forgiveness. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing.
No. And sometimes the daily thing,
Yeah.
each day you have to ask the Holy Spirit, just help me.
Yeah.
Just help me. Because you know the way the
Yes.
enemy works. The person might do
Yeah.
something again, especially if they're still in your life, they're still around, and you
Yes.
keep remembering. But it's a daily work. It's a daily work.
Yeah. I call it the whispers.
The whispers. I love
So,
that.
yes, they're whispering into your ear.
Yes.
There's something that used to happen when we're in school. We would have some sort of matches where you degrade each other. in pidgin English, we call it yabbing each other.
Okay.
So you'd say things to each other, and then maybe someone would get really upset, and then they would fuel that upset with, "Oh, are you gonna take that? Ah, are you gonna let him speak to you like that?" That kind of stuff.
Yes,
I'm sure
yes.
the guys remember that.
Yeah.
So I call it the whispers.
Yeah.
When you're having those heated moments in traffic with your spouse, with that horrible colleague, they start
To
playing with your pride.
yes, yes.
You're gonna let him do that, or you're gonna let her do that. Are you gonna let her talk to you like that? A whole you,
Oh,
all
you.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's true.
It's no,
It's
it's true.
absolutely
It's
true.
true. It's
And
true.
coming to understand these things. I think Satan did it to Jesus.
Yes.
40 days and 40 nights. Sort of said, if you are who you are,
Mm,
prove it now.
yeah.
That sort of stuff. Um,
Don't let him get
so
away
we
with
go.
it. Don't let him get away with it. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's not easy, it's not easy. And
It's
when you
not.
say, my guy said you're a rep.
Your rep,
Yeah,
yes.
that's true. Eh? Like you're a rep, my guy. Save your rep. Um, so it's not easy. Yes, the word is taunting.
Mm, mm,
It's very, very difficult.
yeah.
Very difficult. The times that I've had to, check myself.
Mm,
Sometimes apologizing even when you're not the person
yeah.
who is the perpetrator, but you do it for the sake of love, for the sake of
Yeah.
peace. Yorubas may call this swagbe, to say, and I think that means, like
A
you're
fool, isn't it?
a
A
fool.
fool,
Yes, I think that's
yes.
what it means.
Yes.
But the truth of the matter is, you're doing it for the greater good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow. This has
So,
been amazing.
oh
Oh
gosh, an hour and
wow.
a half.
Yes. Listen,
Yeah.
folks, if you haven't read this book by Desmond Tutu, please read it. It's called No Future Without Reconciliation. It's on Amazon. You can get it. But I cried. I really cried a lot when I read the book. It's a good book to read, and it talks a lot about. Let me read one of the things he said in the book. He said, "Forgiveness and being reconciled to our enemies or our loved ones are not about pretending that things are other than they are. It is not about patting one another on the back and turning a blind eye to the wrong. True reconciliation exposes the abuse, the hurt, and the truth." And that's, remember, Emmanuel said that he actually spoke to his dad, and he exposed, this is what you did. He exposed, so that's true reconciliation. And he also says that forgiveness does not relieve someone of the responsibility for what they have done. Forgiveness does not erase accountability. It is not about turning the blind eye or even turning the other cheek. It is not about letting someone off the hook or saying it's okay. Forgiveness is simply about understanding that every one of us is both inherently good and flawed. Within every hopeless situation and every seemingly hopeless person lies the possibility of transformation. And if Emmanuel hadn't taken that step to forgive his father, he wouldn't have found out all the things that he now knows about him. There wouldn't be that. I mean, thank God, God worked on his father separately, but they wouldn't have a relationship now. So we have to forgive. We don't have a choice.
Hmm.
We have to forgive. So, Emmanuel,
Can I
yeah, go ahead.
can I take a minute, very quick minute, actually, to say that in line with forgiveness,
Yeah.
when my father turned 70, which was last year,
Yeah.
um, he otherwise would have been by himself. I surprised him by flying to Lagos
Oh,
without telling him. I surprised him. He had a Thanksgiving service
yeah.
that was shared with someone else turning 50.
Okay.
And that person, when I got to his church, that person had family, everybody dancing forward for Thanksgiving. And it was just me and him. He would have been by
Oh,
himself.
wow.
So I'm thankful to God for the support of my wife. It was last minute. God said go to Nigeria. I told my wife. She said, actually, sorry, she suggested it. I prayed about it. God said go to Nigeria.
Okay.
So God bless you, Balaji. And it was an immense blessing. He was very happy. He was very happy.
I love Jesus.
And a word I have on judging is when you don't forgive by judging a person, if you it's a very costly thing. You start to become that thing that you're judging.
Please say that again. Say that again.
When you don't forgive a person by judging them,
Yeah.
you start to become that thing that you're judging. So the sooner you let it go, the better for you, because it's very costly, it's very painful.
Wow. Wow.
That's all I can say.
Wow.
I've seen it happen to me. I've judged some people. I've laughed at them certain ways, and years later, I've seen myself
Doing the same.
doing those same
Yeah.
things, and it's wow, yeah. So
Wow, thank you so much, Emmanuel. I'm really and truly grateful to God that you shared this with us. And
thank you for having me.
like we prayed, just pray that this will make a difference in someone's life. Someone will go and seek reconciliation. Someone will seek, for someone it might be therapy. You might need to
Yes.
seek
No.
therapy, or just speak to someone. Some people may have never spoken about this. They may be going through or gone through. Speak to someone, please. It's so important. You're not alone. One of the things we keep saying is you are not alone. You don't have to go through
Yes.
this alone. Seek wise counsel. Pray to God. Get a therapist, but don't stay where you are. Move on, please.
Yes.
It's so
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
It's so important.
Absolutely.
So, Emmanuel, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you for having me, and yeah, I hope
Bolaji,
someone's been blessed by this.
I'm sure. I am definitely sure. Bolaji, we love you too. And Mom, thank you so much. You've raised a wonderful son, amazing young man. And your sister, we love you too. Thank you for coming on. And everyone else that's joined us today, God bless you. Please share the replay with friends, people you think will benefit from watching this. And it's going to be on YouTube. You can search YouTube for all the videos, all the sessions. Just search YouTube, just search Oluwadiaga. It's there. Thank you. God bless you. See you next week.
Thank you all. God bless
God
you.
bless you.
Thank
Next
you,
week,
PFA.